Hello, my name is Zane Moore, and this is my Unit 4 philosophy video project. In this presentation, I'll be exploring three major ethical issues raised by the COVID-19 pandemic. The first one being public health restrictions, the second one being vaccine distribution and their mandates across different countries, and the third one being the dilemma of digital surveillance. I'll apply the three major ethical theories that we studied, such as utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. I'm going to apply those to each issue, and I'll also look at how the different cultures around the world responded to these challenges. Let's start with public health restrictions like lockdowns and mask mandates. From a utilitarian view, these are ethical if they reduce harm and save lives overall. John Stuart Mill believed in maximizing well-being, so temporary restrictions could be justified if they prevent larger scale suffering in the future. But countries have applied this idea differently. And the top right photo is Sweden, and the officials avoided lockdowns almost entirely, trusting the citizens to act responsibly. I believe this reflects a cultural emphasis on personal accountability and social trust. In the top left photo is China, and their government used strict lockdowns and surveillance with rapid enforcement. The collective good was prioritized over individual freedom, which reflects a strong centralized control and social unity. In the United States, the bottom right photo is Times Square. There were lots of major debates in the United States. Some people supported the mandates for safety, while others just saw them as government control. This cultural focus on individual liberty made it pretty hard to implement consistent rules throughout the US. So while the ethical goal, which is saving lives, was shared across these three countries, each response shows how the culture shapes how we define responsibility and freedom. The next topic I'll be covering is the vaccine distribution and the mandates. Using deontological ethics, Immanuel Kant would say that people must be treated with respect and allowed to choose for themselves. Mandating vaccines without consent can violate personal freedom, but there was also a fairness issue going on. The wealthy countries got the vaccines first, while low-income nations waited. As you can see in my graphic, countries like the United States and Europe got the vaccines way earlier than the low-income countries like the ones in Africa. That is not universal or just, which would go against Kant's ethics. In the US, the access was high, but a lot of people resisted the mandates. Countries like India eventually produced and exported vaccines, but they started with shortages. African countries struggled with the access despite needing lots of doses. China promoted the vaccines through public campaigns and mandates, which kind of gave the people almost a social duty. It made them feel like they had to do it. And I just think this shows how different cultures weigh fairness and freedom, and in some cases duty, much differently in a crisis. The third issue is digital surveillance, like contract chasing apps. Using virtual ethics, we judge actions based on character. A good leader will act with transparency, fairness, and respect for the people, not just on efficiency. In China, surveillance was widespread and accepted as social responsibility. Public trust and the authority helped normalize these tools. But in the United States, we have strong privacy norms, and that made us resistant to being tracked, even for health reasons. The fear was that safety could come at the cost of personal freedom. In India, the government launched an app which millions of people downloaded. It helped track exposure, but it also raised concerns about consent and data protection. In parts of Africa, digital tracing was limited due to technology gaps, but also due to distrust from the past misuse of government data. Virtue ethics remind us that it's not just about what works, but it is about leading in ways that are honest and culturally respectful. Throughout the video, I used the unit readings from Kant, Aristotle, and Mill, and I also used World Health Organization data for the mapping.